Good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Leadership Edge podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. P. Ronald Wilder. This podcast is designed, as by its name, the Leadership Edge, to give you, the leader, and the leader in you, the edge that you need in your portfolio, in your leadership repertoire. We want to help you, we want to aid you, and we want to assist you in that. So thank you for tuning in to the Leadership Edge. I appreciate you being with us tonight. Happy Tuesday. I know many of you have been out handling business and employment, working, doing different things, and now you are winding the day down, and no better thing to do than to have a good dinner and feast on natural food and then get some great teachings from these podcasts on the Leadership Edge. Now, before we get started, as always, please hit the share and the like button. BGTV Studios, go ahead and like and share. Go ahead and subscribe to that YouTube channel, BGTV Studios YouTube. Hit the like button on Facebook and follow, whichever it asks you to do. Just connect with us, amen, so that you'll get notifications anytime something's happening on BGTV Studios. Thank God for this platform that God has raised up to give voices like mine a platform to be heard and the message to get out. BGTV Studios is growing at a good pace, and at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to be a part of BGTV Studios to help the impact reach further. So please stay all the way with me to that, because I want to get an opportunity where you can personally help BGTV Studios extend their boundaries and do the things that they do. Okay, all right. So while we're podcasting, please hit the comment button. Comment. Let us know where you're watching from. But also during the podcast, let us know if you're liking what we're saying. If it blesses you, if it helps you, if it's something that resonates with you, put it in the comments. We love comments. We even the podcast, we like to see how people are commenting back to us, and so we read them, and then the staff here likes to know. So go ahead and help us there. All right. Let's talk leadership. Let's teach leadership. Now, we started last week talking about observations on leadership, okay? And we closed out by giving you an acrostic for the word leader, L-E-A-D-E-R. We took that leader. L is for leaders lead. E is for empower, leaders empower. A is for attitude, leaders have great attitude. D is for dreamer, leaders are dreamers. E is for excellent, leaders excel. And R is for relationship, leaders love people, okay? So now, it's a great acrostic, and we talked about that on last week. Now, let's give you some insights on effective leaders, because every leader wants to be effective. And I can tell you that every leader is not effective, okay? Every leader is not effective. There are some leaders that they're just there, but they're not very effective, okay? So let me give you some insights. The difference between leaders and followers is perspective, how they see things. The difference between leaders and effective leaders is better perspective. In other words, a leader has some perspective, but effective leaders have better perspective, okay? Effective leaders have better perspective. Now, what do you mean about perspective? Perspective is all about how you see things. Exactly what it is, how you see, how you filter them, okay? It's how you see it. And effective leaders look at everything from a leadership perspective, but from a better leadership perspective, okay? And so they have better perspective on things. Therefore, they become more effective leaders. I train leaders. I talk to leaders. I lead leaders. And many times I have to help them understand and get proper perspective, because sometimes they make mistakes because they don't have the right perspective. They don't see things properly, okay? It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. I was talking to a leader recently, and we were talking about various things. And again, we're pastors, okay? And so sometimes we have to, do things. We have to raise funds for certain things, okay? And I was talking to this pastor, and he was trying to raise, an X amount of funds for a project in his church. And he was disappointed because he wanted a certain amount. I'm just going to use a scenario. These are not the numbers, but let me just give you. Let's say he needed $10,000, and he asked 10 people in his church to give $1,000. So he figured it's gonna be easy. I got a few hundred folk in my church, so getting 10 folk to give $1,000 shouldn't be a problem. Well, he didn't get it. He only got one or two. Okay? People have economic situations, different things, and just off the cuff, you asking that, you may not get it. Okay? So he was a little discouraged. And I said, well, you know what? I said, let me give you a different perspective. I said, let's play the law of large numbers. See, you went for a home run, trying to get 10 people to give you $1,000 and cut it off right there. You went for the home run. I said, but you could have went for a base hit, because a home run will get you a run, but if you get 4 base hits, you got to run also. So how about this here? If you got several hundred people sitting in front of you, and you need $10,000, and you tried to get 10 to give you $1,000, why not just say, I need 100 of y'all to give me $100, or I need 200 of y'all to give me $50? You got the same money. You just played the law of large numbers. Perspective. He said, man, you helped me so much. I blew it. I said, yeah, you missed that one. Play the law of large numbers. You see something? It's all about perspective. It's all about leadership. Is about perspective. It's how you see things. Okay, and that's one of the things that we'd like to do here at the Leadership Edge, is to give you better perspective, help you see things from a different view and from a larger leadership perspective. Why? Because how you see things is critical. Because why? Because your perspectives filter what you see. So if my perspective is off, it's going to filter how you see. Okay. I tell you what, I remember years ago, someone came to our church when we first moved into our present church. There was another minister that came. He's a friend of ours, had been there, and he came to our church. And we had just moved in. We had just survived the fire. And he came. Now, this minister had just a little earlier, a few months earlier, hit tough times in their ministry, and they lost their building. They lost their building. I have never lost a building they lost theirs because of foreclosure. I've never had nothing like that happen, so I don't know how that feels. But I can imagine being a pastor, and you put your life work into your ministry, and what you do, that could be a devastating thing. So I didn't, I knew how I felt when our building burned down. And when that happened, matter of fact, maybe one of these times I'll come out, I'll get a picture of our burned building and show you what I walked into, and they can show you, and you can get a chance to see. I know how I felt with a burned building. So he had just lost his building, and now here we at our building doing our dedication, and everybody is celebrating us, this great building, and he's sitting here 2 months away from just losing his. And so one of my ministers said to me that, hey, your boy wasn't friendly today. He didn't act like himself. Matter of fact, he acted a little jealous. He was hating on us because I tried, and so that was their perspective. This is one of my leaders. That was their perspective. I said, no, let me give you a different perspective. I said, you got to give him a pass today, because he just lost his building 2 months ago. And here we are today celebrating us getting a new building, a building that's already paid off before we ever came into it. So he's hurting deeply. He's not happy for us. He's seen what happened to him. So I said, give him a pass. Don't hold this against him. I understand plainly what he might be dealing with. Perspective, how you see things filters your perspective. So I tried to give them a different perspective. Leadership is all about perspective. Now, just imagine if I'd have had the wrong perspective that day. I would have saw his attitude or his thing and thought, why he coming? He happy for us. And it could have affected our friendship because I had wrong perspective, not looking at the fact that he has just suffered loss and here we getting gain. Leadership is all about perspective. It allows you to see truth or not see it. That's why we got to make sure that we're clear in our head and our perspective is right. Because why? Because you must seek a good perspective or you'll miss the truths you need to see. And you will judge things falsely every time. You'll judge things falsely every single time. So leadership is all about perspective. Now, how do we grow as a leader? How do we grow? I often say this here when I'm teaching leadership lessons. I say, if you're doing the same thing today that you were doing 5 years ago, you're not growing. If you're doing the same thing today that you were doing 5 years ago, you're not growing. And if 5 years from now you're doing the same thing you're doing today, you haven't grown. It should always be a progression. Now, there are going to be 3 words we'll talk about over the next few moments that will determine your growth. 3 words, and they all start with a C, okay? The first word is choice. You don't start growing in your life or in your leadership until you make a choice to, you choose to. It's all about, it's choice. Everything starts with choice. You don't accidentally grow. You don't stumble and grow. You have to make a decision. I didn't become a leadership expert and do all I do in leadership accidentally. I didn't stumble on this. I made a choice. And when I use that term, leadership expert, I'm not boasting or bragging on me. I'm just giving you what I am based upon the time I put in. It's kind of like if a guy goes to grad school and gets a doctorate degree. He writes a dissertation. He's a PhD. He's not bragging by saying he's a PhD or he's a doctor. He has put the work in. He's telling you what he is. I have put the work in leadership based upon the criteria that was established by experts, which means I have done what they said, and I'm in that category now. Okay? So when I say that, don't think that I'm being self-centered or self-exalting or anything like that. I am probably the most humble person you'll ever know. Now, so I made a choice. I told you, sitting in a conference in 1994, April of 1994. I can see it like it was today. I'm sitting in that conference, and I was in Anderson, Indiana. I'm watching John Maxwell on the screen. I can see him right now. I'm sitting it's about 800 people in the audience. I'm about midways back in the middle. And John Maxwell makes this statement. He says, anything that you commit 1 hour a day of study to, within 5 years, you'll be an expert on that subject. He said, if you study a subject 1 hour every single day for 5 years, you will be an expert. Right there in that audience, I was sitting beside a friend of mine. We went up there together. He's no longer with us. He's gone home to be with the Lord. He went home to be with the Lord last year, but we were together. And I sit there and I said, in my mind, I said, Lord, I am going to be an expert in leadership. So when I get back home from this conference, it's like middle of April, I'm going to start Monday, and 1 hour every day for the next 5 years, I'm going to study leadership. And I did it. At the end of 5 years, at the end of April of 1999, I looked in the mirror at my house and I said, self, you are an expert. I said, but I don't want to just be an expert. I'm at the entry level expert. I don't want to just be an expert, just average. I want to be the go-to man. I want to be a guru. I want to be the guy that when there are leadership issues, I'm the man they call. I'm the go-to guy. So I'm going to do it for 5 more years. And so I started that day. I did 5 more years. So now April of 2004, that's 10 years, I've done it every single day. Never missed a day. 1 hour every day. That's a choice I made. It's a choice. That didn't happen. And then after I got 10 years, I decided, why stop? Let me just make this a lifestyle. And from April the 4th up until May of 2020, which is another 16 years, which gave me 26 years total, I studied leadership every day for 26 years. I just stopped in the middle of the pandemic. Sitting there, I don't know why I stopped. It's kind of like Forrest Gump running. He just stopped running. I just stopped one day. Okay, I just stopped. Now, since I've stopped, I picked back up. I ain't doing it every day like that, but I study leadership on a regular basis. Okay? So, but how did that happen? I made a choice. Were there days you didn't want to study? Yes. Were there days you were tired? Yes. There were days I'm on vacation with my family. We on the beach. Well, I'm not going to rob them of time. I'm not going to be while they're on the beach, they're having a good time. I'm in the room studying leadership for an hour. No. You know what I chose to do? Wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning while they sleep and got my hour in. I wasn't going to cheat my family. And this does not take away from my study of the Bible as a pastor and preparing sermons. I didn't replace that. This in addition to that, that's the discipline. Leadership is a choice. Growing is a choice. You have to make the choice. I made a choice to grow. Okay? I made that choice. And as a result of making that choice, I'm here talking to you today. I have become what I wanted to be, an expert. I am one of the go-to guys. Matter of fact, 90% of the time I leave my church to go minister, I'm going because of leadership issues, okay? Apostle Davis, who was just on this podcast a couple of weeks ago, just completed their shift conference, okay? I did a whole round table in the shift conference on leadership. 90% of my outside engagements, I'm brought in to deal with leadership issues. I have become one of the go-to men, especially in the circles that I run in. And God's expanding that circle every single day. How does that happen? It's a choice. You begin to grow because you make a choice. If you never make that choice, you never grow. The second thing is change. 3 words I told you: choice and change. Change allows me to start. Choice allows me to start growing. Change allows me to continue growing. In other words, unless you're in a constant state of change, you're not going to keep growing. Growth means change. So the more I begin to grow, guess what? The more I had to change. During them 26 years of every day, I changed. I had to change different things, okay? To get that time in and not cheat, I had to move. I had to change certain things. Certain things I was doing, I can't do this no more because I need that time for this. You got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to expand. Some of us hate change. We treat change like change. We treat change like change is our enemy. No, change is the only thing that has ever brought progress. I got a cell phone sitting here in my hand. It's ringing right now on vibrate. My baby brother Drake's calling me, okay? I'm going to have to tell him I call him back later. But listen, it's a cell phone, okay? This is change. This is change. Because guess what? Years ago, everybody didn't have this here. This is a cell phone. It's a little computer. It's a camera. You know, used to be back when we go to our kids' ball games, we'd have to have a camcorder or something recording. Now everything records everything in real time. We can go live real time about things going on now. Okay? Why? Because this represents change. Now, can you imagine living without this now? As a matter of fact, think about you, me, my technician here. You leave out the house and leave your phone, you feel lost. I left out the house and got on the interstate. I got to go back and get my phone. I feel like something is missing. Why? That's change. This has changed us. And guess what? We can't go back. We won't go back. Now, you can sit here and fight it, but you can't survive in the world today without a cell phone. Matter of fact, this has changed so much that most of us don't have home phones no more. Landlines, they're gone because it represents change, but this represents progress. It connects us to the world in an instant. I can pop on here, text. I can pop on here and talk to people around the world. I can come on here, get new. Everything. All of my computer, everything I'm teaching on this computer right here is on this phone. That represents change. Have to be willing to change. That's what growth is all about. So it's going to bring progress. And if you want to progress as a leader and grow, You got to be willing to change. Choice allows me to start growing. But change is what's going to keep me growing. You will not grow if you don't change, if you're not in a constant state of changing. So that's why you can't get locked into nothing, especially our methods, okay? You can't get locked into it. Why? Because it has to change. Well, I've been always doing. Still, you got to change. I heard a leadership expert say it like that. He said, marry your mission, but date your methods. Okay, so I'm marrying what I am. I'm marrying my mission to be a leader and and a change agent, a leadership and a servant leader. But how I get there, the methods I use, I'm going to date that because they may change. I ain't stuck. If I did it this way today, guess what? 6 months from now, that may need to change. But we get married to our method, and we stick with a method and refuse to change, and it stymies our growth. And my time is up. We have to pick this up on the next podcast, okay? Choice and change. Next week, we'll start talking about climate. That'll bring it all home. But I got to go. My time is up. So listen, don't forget to visit the website, www.PRonaldWilder.com. On my website, it's where all of my products are. That's where my book is, The ABCs of Leadership. You can get that book. It'll bless you. It'll help your leadership development, principles for personal development. It'll bless you. Also, on the website, go to my shop page. You'll see all my leadership teachings there. There's stuff that's good. The Maximus Principle, 7 Laws of 7, conflict resolution, rules of engagement. All of those, you can download them into your device and have them. But let me tell you, the best buy on my website is the bundle package. If you go to my website, you'll see over 30 different leadership lessons on there. You can get every last one of them on here. If you were to buy them on the website, it'll cost you well over $300. You can get this bundle package for like about $125. Less than half of what you can do that for. This is the best. And everything on the website is on here. So go ahead and get the bundle package. Write us in, get it. We'll get it to you, okay? Now listen, I told you at the beginning I'll give you the opportunity to be a blessing and help BGT2 Studios to continue to expand. I want you to support this platform, BGTV Studios. It's a great platform. God's doing great things with it. You feed from it. You get blessed by my podcast, some of the other podcasts. You should sow a seed into it. There are several ways you can give. This is good ground. I wouldn't ask you if it wasn't good ground. It's on the screen now, the ways you can give to BGTV Studios. Number one, you can go online to bgtvstudios.com. You can give there. Or you can text any amount to 84321 and give there. Highly secured. Got where information being compromised. 100%, listen to me very carefully, 100% of what you give goes to BGTV Studios and the operation of BGTV Studios. Podcasts like myself and other podcasts on this platform, we don't get one dime. There's no sharing, there's no percentage. Everything you give goes to BGTV Studios. So please pray about being a monthly partner, doing something else on a monthly basis, or give a one-time good, generous gift. Okay, this is good ground, and you'll be sowing into a kingdom endeavor, and God will bless you for doing that. All right, thank you very much. Listen, my time is up. We'll pick back up on observation leadership on next week's podcast. Until then, have a great week. Have a blessed week, and may you win. This is your host, Dr. P. Ronald Wilder, reminding you of the two things I always do: leadership matters, and leaders lead. God bless you. I'll see you next week.